Oh, what about you? 2005 Nissan Micra. Customer complaint is went and got new tyres, and the tyre fitter told her that the spring is broken. So broken front spring in this Nissan, this wee car, and she's moving about a wee bit in there. So yeah, that's just the protective bit that goes in the last coil there. So the girl didn't know anything about this, and it's only whenever she got new front tyres on that the tyre fitter informed her of this spring. So we'll take a wee look up top and see if we need to remove any of the scuttle panels or wipers or anything. See if we can get these top strut mount bolts here. Well, there's two of them we can see, and over here there's a wee blanker. So we'll pull that out, put that to the side, and can we get at that bolt there? There she is, with a bit of light on her. So there's our 3 bolts that we're wanting. So not too bad, we don't have to take any plastics off. Right, we'll see if we can get onto this. So we'll have 13mm extended socket, and the hole provided for us isn't exactly, well, maybe get at that. It's not the straightest. So we'll take that extended socket off and put this one on the wobble joint. I have a wee short reach here as well, just in case. But let's see, that's a bit better. We'll just see if these are going to come for us. Well, not taking them right out at this stage, just making sure I get at these. And it's just starting to tighten there a wee bit. So one thing about, see these top strut mount nuts or bolts, you need to watch sometimes, because sometimes the rust on the threads on the underside can snag, and it'll make whatever it's going into spin on the top mount, and then you've just created a major issue for yourself. So if you just buzz these off, sometimes it can cause problems, but will look okay. This one here underneath the headlight bracket that you can't see at the bottom of the picture, that one there. So we'll put a wee short reach jobby on it. Could put a spanner on it, or a ratchet spanner or something, you know. You can't get it with that, but let's see. Just to make sure they're going to loosen for us. All right, happy with that. Wheel off, we'll see what we've got. This here, bit of corrosion, and let me see, up here, something similar. So we'll give it all a bit of a wire wheel. Looks like this one's going to be fun. The amount of rust there is about the place. And I'll give her a scoop, a panther, give her a bit of a hook. Trying to get this held on key. These ones here, there's no flats on it to hold it behind. So let me see what have we got. Get this all in here. And 16mm on there like that. Oh, it's starting to bend. Oh. So back in again. We'll give her a wire going with a wire brush. Go on. We dropped more Panther on her, and let's see if she's gonna come now. So this is real world, guys. This is real world stuff here. You know, these things don't want to come off. And the thing about it is, you know, you might say to yourself, well, why don't you just cut it off, or why don't you just heat the nut up? Well, if you heat the nut up and expand it, yeah, it'll come off a lot easier for sure. But you'll need a new set of drop links, and this car isn't in for a set of drop links, and ours is coming now. It's coming lovely now. So you'll need a new set of drop links if you heat the nut up, because the joint, it's like a hip joint, you know, it's a ball and a socket type deal, and the socket is plastic, so it'll be racked if you heat that up. So it's racked anyway with a boot, but you need to trust me on this one. It was like that, and it's not in for a set of drop links. So if this was my car, I'd replace that. I'd replace that drop link there, but it ain't my car, and that's not what it's in for, and we'll just advise the customer on that one. But yeah, this is a thing with customers' cars. This car's in for a spring, so if I throw a new set of drop links in that, which you might think, yeah, well, that would be the you know, the right thing to do, and you know, they're gonna go anyway, and not too long they'll start knocking on them. Well, he'll think you've broke that, or you've just damaged them, taken them off, or whatever, and you know, they'll think they'll maybe think the wrong thing, you know, sometimes. But there you go, that's it. So there ain't much of these nuts left here. It's holding this strut on, so I might give them a heat up and get rid of some of this rust, because if I just put an impact on that, yeah, before we chew it up, we'll give it a heat up. Getting there. Wonder what size this is supposed to be. There's an 18. There's an 18. $17. I think it's 17. We'll give her a bit of a rattling on a fairly lowish setting, so I'm not expecting this to come off, but it's just to break up all the rust, you know. Not spinning the other side. It's dead on. So we'll just screw that bolt in there. and get that nut out of this. Get that nut out of that socket. There we go. That's all right. So it maybe looked worse than what it was. Bolt back in again to get this all on. Yeah, they're coming out great. Right, disconnect brake hose. That's not going to work. Plan B. And there is such a word as worser. It's worse than worse, right? Okay. So we're keeping the caliper on, we're keeping the brake on, and the drive shaft is still in the hub. And there's quite a weight here, and the drive shaft is in the gearbox. So top tip here, you don't want to let this just hang on the ball joint. The track rod end is still attached down there, so it isn't going to move too far, but this will fly out. And what can happen is, you're relying on the boot of the CV joint from stopping that. So you could rip the CV joint, or if it does pop out of CV joint, there are some models, especially Hondas. Hondas are a devil for it. That if it pops out, the universal joint pops out with CV joint at the gearbox end, you'll have some bother getting it back in again. These ones here aren't too bad. It will probably go back in again. It'll cause you a wee bit of grief. You have to turn it and stuff like that. But just prevent that. I just do it on every model. What you want to do is you want to get a bit of wire or something, and wrap it around something there. You even wrap it around the brake pipe if you want. Not the flexible hose and put that there in. We'll get that in there now. Let's have a bit of sense about it. And so that there's for us. That'll stop this hub from having a mind of its own and dropping under its own weight and pulling the shaft out of the CV joint. So what we do, you want to let that come out, push the strut back as much as you can, let that come out, let it move to the side, but don't let this come forward towards you. There's a bit of a mess, ABS wires here and all. But fear not. Oh, there you get this. Fear not. We'll get that tied up. So the track rod end is preventing the whole thing from falling forward. So back up to our top bolts. We'll get the Aquaronas out, and this handy one, we'll just leave it on a couple of threads and let it dangle, so we can unscrew out with our hands while our arm is in below and catch the weight of the strut. So the handy one that you're going to spin out with your fingertips, you may want to run it in and out a few times just to make sure that it's going to come out for you. So these are what I was referring to earlier, these wee threaded parts in this rubber. So sometimes if the bolt gets a bit rusty in below, and it jams up when you're loosening it, that can spin on you. in the rubber mount, and that gives you an awful headache. So on this particular one, just this one here, mind, you know, I had to go up in with a bit of WD-40 or whatever your favourite Panther is, and back it in, back it out, back it in, back it out, back it in. Once you know, it's because once I was loosening it, it was binding up with the rust on this bolt. So it was just this one. Those two there came out dead on, but so it was a few wee goes there to do that. You do not want that thing there to spin in that rubber, for that rubber to separate. And this top bearing here, then this will move. Let's see if I can get it. So that'll move on the top bearing. So we'll just give it a wee mark. That's towards the front of the car there. Just for ease of installation. Just going to use this portable squeezer on this here. So we're not going to get very much with the way these coils are. Sometimes broken springs are a pain because you know, you can't get the squeezer in, you know, because there's a piece of coil missing. So all we're going to get is this distance here for those two Allen keys to touch whenever they touch. But we'll see if this is enough. Right, so that's them two touching there. So it's not going to. That's just loose as dead on. We'll see if this top nut's going to come off. It looks a bit rancid, so it probably won't. Oh, nearly is. Right, we've got her separated. I'll just show you. Right, so there's our top bearing. So we need that. Right, reuse that. So we'll just check. That's turning. So cause of failure, right? So this one here is quite obvious. See if that top bearing there is binding, jamming up, isn't turning freely. Well, your spring is going like that when you're steering. So the spring's not designed to go in that motion. It's designed to go up and down, squeeze. If it's going like this, because that burn is sticky or rusted solid or whatever it is, then, you know, that's the cause. If that's the case, you need to replace that and probably a top mount at the same time. This one here, however, it's this sound absorber thing. Now, you can see it's all ripped and all. So what happens is the lower coil, which or half of it isn't there anymore, it's disappeared. So you can see it's broke there, and then it's just worn away there because that bottom bit has remained in the seat of the strut. So what happens is the water gathers in this here and lies in it and just rusts her out. So that thing there, gone. Right, back to there again, new bolt on the top there and all assembled, so we'll just loosen her off. There we go. That's hurt. And that's a strut back in again. So we put her back, these were elongated holes there, so we put it back to where the dirt was really, you know. And this one in here, bit awkward to do, get her into place first. I changed to a quarter drive to get that one, so you can get it through that hole, no bar. Bit of a flaff, but it's alright, not too bad. For the torque police, don't be swinging on these, not tight, common sense. That top bolt, I just run it up with the impact, didn't film that bit, but just run up the impact on a sort of mid setting on my Metabo electric impact. Those there are normally in around the 50 Newton meters if you really want to know that. I reused the top nut. So whenever you know you turn your steering, this nut doesn't spin here, this nut doesn't turn. You know, so that'll just rust up again. There's a nail lock in it. When you're changing the strut, you'll get a new nut, but you know, we don't have a replacement. So I do that all the time and don't have any trouble. Back down in there, we large again, so we can see this thing will spin. So we want that to be facing us, sort of where it was, you know. So camera's off to the side here a wee bit, but that's straight facing me. So we don't want this thing to come forward. We don't want that to come forward to, you know, to protect the CV joint and the shaft and the rubber and all that and nonsense. So you sort of need 3 hands to do this. You want to take the weight. You want to take the weight. You put your hand on the disc, and this will want to drop as well. So well, it's right down. No, it won't want to drop. Right, that's all right. So we'll release our little holding device here. Get that out of the way. And your knee, or your other hand, or another person, maybe helps with this. So you want to push the strut back a bit and get her up, get her lined up. And another cool device, if you can get it in the other hand, is one of these things. I'm just taking the weight to hold this. And relax. So, screwdriver's doing all the work there. For us, taking the weight. So it's just that wee moment of getting her in. Get rid of that. Boy, there, done a good job. And that allows us to get this bottom bolt in, hopefully. So we'll maybe need to give it a wee raise up. On my knee, just put my knee below the disc there, out of shot. Dispense with that. And again, there we go. I get these 2 nuts back on. So all the rust away. They're actually not too bad. And again, torque police, common sense, you do not need to swing on these. Don't swing on anything. So we'll get these run up. And I like to run them up manually, not with the Ugga Dugga machine. And it's so I can feel the torque, you know? So I know that I'm not over tightening it and stripping the threads, because these are the old bolts, and as you saw at the start, these were quite crusty. But what are you using? So of course, you know, you can rename all the bolts if you want, you know. It's your own car, man, knock yourself out. But in the real world, that's what really happens. You know, it's the real world, the channel here. Now, I was going to say, those bolts there, you can put a bit of anti-sneeze on it. And you have to watch this ABS wire, everything you do. You can put anti-sneeze on those bolts if you wish. They weren't stuck in. The bolts were not stuck in. It was just that the nuts were a bit crusty on it. And once we got rattled a bit and the heat, all the rust fell off. So they were able to come all right. You know. And a wee tip for you, if you notice, if you watch any of my videos, maybe taking this sort of stuff apart, you know, the nut you take off, you put it back on again, so you don't mix them up, you know. Dead simple, but sometimes they're easy to mix up, and you know, they look the same and they're nearly the same and all that, but sometimes they're not. And you get it down a few threads and it just starts binding on you or whatever, and then you go, oh, I've just racked the threads in that. And the torque setting of this is 1 hoof. So there's a steel wheel going on this here, so we'll put a wee bit of anti-sneeze on here. Now the wheel wasn't stuck on, it came off dead on, but sure, we'll just do that anyway. Because they do eventually stick on. The wheels come off dead on because this thing's just had new tires on it, which was the reason why the owner was told then that the spring was broken. So that's it. For all the torque police out there and all these boys, you take your car to a garage, that's what really happens. You know, those sort of torques. I do use torque wrenches in certain things, crank bolts, sump plugs, etc, etc, and we don't rely on ugga-duggas, so many ugga-duggas and all that carry on. If I do ugga-dugga something up, you know, I then put a spanner or a ratchet on it to check it, to see what it ended up as, you know. So, and you don't ugga-dugga wheel bolts or wheel studs or whatever you want to call these things, because if you get around the wrong thread, you don't do a Formula 1 job and just throw the gun on it, you know, like this, because you get around on the wrong thread on the first go, you've just stripped her. And yes, a lot of those things, the drop links, and you know, you probably saw a big lip in the disc there and stuff like that. Well, you know, this is the thing, you know, when I get a car in, the customer asked me to change the spring. That's all he asked me to do. He didn't ask me to change drop links, he didn't ask me to change the discs, the pads and all that carry on. I can advise him, I could say, look, when you pick it up, there's a few things you saw there you might need doing sometime in the future. And he'll probably go, oh, dead on, that's dead on, and away he goes. All he wants is the spring replaced, you know. If I did go ahead and change the drop links, and by the way, you change the drop links in pairs, never change one. So they do sell them signally. They, you know, you don't. The drop links are different. The drop links, you know, one make a drop. If you buy a new drop link for this, it could well be slightly different in length to the other one. So that means it's one side's always being pulled. So you buy both the same make, batch, and whatever, and replace them in pairs. They should really sell them in pairs. The other thing as well is you could say as well, yes, you should replace the two springs, because now we have a strong spring in this side and a sort of weak spring on the other side. Well, you know, again, if you start replacing all these components the customer didn't ask for, he has a right, you know, he's a divine right to turn around to you and say, well, I didn't ask you to do that, so I'm not paying you for it. And, you know, you can't really argue with that. You haven't got a counter argument. So that's where we're at in the real world, you know. And we'll get dog of this, and then we'll get her down on the deck. We check it. You can use a torque wrench if you want, but I just check it by feel with a breaker bar when the wheel's on the ground. And you know, wheel nuts are usually in around 100 newton meters, 110, something like that. If you want to check it with a torque wrench. So there you go. That's it. Spring replaced on a Datsun. All the best. Thanks for watching. Hope you get something out of it. And
now we're sucking diesel.
High five.
high five.